The studio lights felt hotter than usual, bleaching the color from the polished set and making everything seem sharper, more exposed. Jimmy Kimmel leaned forward behind his desk with that familiar half-smile, the one audiences loved because it promised mischief without danger. Jennifer Lopez sat across from him, legs crossed, posture relaxed, radiating the kind of confidence that comes from decades of being watched, judged, and applauded. At first, the conversation flowed easily. They joked about her busy schedule, her latest project, the endless juggling act of music, film, and business. The audience laughed on cue, clapping at the right moments, and everything felt comfortably predictable. Then Jimmy shifted the tone, just slightly. He tossed out a comment framed as humor, something about how she always seemed to reinvent herself just in time to stay relevant. The audience chuckled, but Jennifer's smile tightened for a fraction of a second. It was subtle, almost invisible, but those who knew her could sense it. She responded smoothly, crediting hard work and passion, steering the moment away from anything personal. Jimmy nodded, but instead of moving on, he pressed again. This time, he referenced her past relationships, weaving them into a joke about headlines and tabloids, as if her private life were just another accessory to her fame. The laughter was louder now, but it carried an edge. Jennifer glanced briefly toward the audience, then back at Jimmy. Her expression remained calm, but her eyes sharpened, focused. She answered politely, reminding him that the media often reduces women to who they're dating instead of what they're creating. The applause was scattered, uncertain. Jimmy raised his hands in mock surrender, laughing it off, yet there was a flicker of curiosity in his face, maybe even challenge. He followed up with another question, phrased lightly, about how she handled criticism and public expectations when every move she made became a story. This time, Jennifer didn't rush to answer. She took a breath, the kind that signals thought rather than hesitation. The silence stretched for a beat longer than late-night television usually allows. Cameras zoomed in slightly, catching the shift in energy. She spoke about pressure, about growing up with big dreams and being told they were unrealistic. She talked about fighting for space in rooms where she wasn't expected to lead. The audience leaned in, clapping softly as she spoke, sensing sincerity beneath the polish. Jimmy smiled, nodding, but then he added one more line, an offhand remark suggesting that fame made everything easier, that success erased struggle. It landed wrong. You could feel it ripple through the room, like a dropped glass shattering expectations. Jennifer straightened in her chair, uncrossing her legs, grounding herself. Her smile didn't disappear, but it transformed into something steadier, more deliberate. She looked directly at Jimmy, not confrontational, just unwavering. She began by saying that success doesn't cancel effort, it amplifies it. She spoke about waking up before dawn for rehearsals, about injuries danced through, about being underestimated because of where she came from and how she looked. Her voice was even, measured, but every word carried weight. The audience applause grew stronger, less hesitant now. Jimmy tried to interject with a joke, but she continued, not interrupting him aggressively, simply holding the floor with quiet authority. She explained that humor is powerful, but so is responsibility, especially on a platform watched by millions. Reducing a woman's life to sound bites might be easy, she said, but it ignores the discipline behind the success. The room had gone still, the kind of stillness that feels electric. Even the band sat frozen, instruments untouched. Jimmy's grin faded into something more thoughtful as he realized the conversation had shifted beyond his control. Jennifer wasn't angry. That was what made it impossible to dismiss her words. She didn't scold or lecture, she shared. She talked about young girls watching at home, forming ideas about what achievement looks like, about whether their work would ever be taken seriously. She reminded everyone that resilience isn't glamorous, that reinvention often comes from survival, not strategy. The applause broke out again, louder this time, cutting through the tension like a wave. Jimmy leaned back slightly, hands clasped, listening. The playful rhythm of the show was gone, replaced by something raw and real. Jennifer finished her thought by saying she was proud of every chapter of her life, messy or misunderstood, because it all came from choosing courage over comfort. She paused, letting the words settle. The audience rose into a standing ovation, some clapping, some cheering, others simply nodding in agreement. For a moment, no one spoke. The cameras lingered, capturing Jimmy's expression as he processed what had just happened. Jennifer sat calmly, composed, her point made without a single raised voice. The interview hadn't exploded into chaos, it had transformed into something far more powerful, a reminder that strength doesn't always shout. And as the applause echoed through the studio, it was clear that this was only the beginning of a moment that would be replayed again, and talked about long after the lights dimmed.